The views expressed by our guests in the following video are solely the opinions of our guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and or opinions of the Ollah 7 podcast show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Ollah 7 podcast. This is On The Spot, your favorite segment, and my name is DJ Ollah 7 Owen Wekwamadondo. And today on the Ollah 7 podcast, on the spot, right, we sit down with a young leader whose surname is not only iconic but deeply intertwined with the history of Zimbabwe. He is the son of the late former Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai, the founding president of the Movement for Democratic Change, a man who stood against the odds in the fight for a more open and just Zimbabwe. But Richard Tsvangirai Jr. is not just not just living in his father's shadow. He is carving out his own political path. As the current member of the Norton under the Citizen Coalition for Change, CCC, he's become a voice for a new generation passionate about the leadership, development, accountability, and the real needs of Zimbabweans. So we'll get into his early life and background. My brother, Richard, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Ollah. I'm good, very well.
It is my pleasure. Is this your first ever interview or you've been interviewed before?
No, definitely it's not my first time interview.
Right.
I've been to different interviews before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is the most important one.
The most important. I like that part. Thank you so much for coming, my brother. So let's rewind to October 1993 in Norton. You were born into a family steeped, in legacy, named after both your father and your grandfather who made that call. And how do you personally relate to your name today?
Well, I think growing up, my life was pretty much a normal life. Just a typical life for a young person growing up in the streets of Norton, particularly in the streets of Katanga.
Yeah.
You grow up, you go to school, you play chikweshe in the streets, you play mahumbo.
Yeah.
So pretty much my life was a typical life, a normal life for any person that is growing up in the streets of Norton.
Yeah. You grew up in Norton. When I was in Yongaskazi, that's where you actually grew up.
Yeah.
Norton, Katanga.
Yeah.
Now that is your now. Did anyone ever call you Juju? You look like Julius Malema, trust me.
I unfortunately not.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
But are you aware that you look like Julius Malema?
Julius Malema.
Yeah, you've got some.
It's actually something new that I'm hearing from you.
You've got maybe some resemblance. Juju.
I mean, maybe I should start wearing. I don't know my hair.
My bareta.
Just to totally fit the look.
Exactly. So beyond the headlines and public appearance, what was your home life like? Growing up. How did you develop your own identity amidst your monumental expectations?
You see, Ollah, I don't know where you grew up, but for someone that grew up in low income areas, areas like Etafungana Noto, you see a lot of inequalities that is happening there.
Yeah.
You see a lot of struggles, be it economic, be it social, be it political.
Yeah.
A lot of things that are going on in Norton. So going through that process, Ollah, it shapes your character. The way you view the world.
Yeah.
It's characterized by how you grow up. So, just like a ghetto youth.
Yeah.
Maybe Urkumbare, Urkunotoni, Urkumavuku, you can never run away from the inequality, economic inequalities. Right? If you go to Borodale, you see a totally different life.
Yeah.
If you go to Norton, you see a totally different life. So those things, they shape who you are.
Yeah.
And I think the streets of Katanga really shaped the person that I am right now. The person that is trying to fight for an equal society.
I see.
A person that is trying to fight for democracy. A person that is trying to fight for a just environment where a young person can dream to be anything that he wants to be.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what shaped me at the streets of Katanga, playing Chikweshe, playing Mahumbe in the streets of Norton. That's what shaped me who I am today.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's interesting. Do you have like childhood memories?
Memories.
In Katanga?
In particular, in regards to what exactly? I think you have to be specific.
No, just in general.
A lot was happening. A lot was happening.
You know, childhood memories dzinosanganisira kafesti baby kuti ndichitanga kudzidzira kababy kuti ndakapoti dingi kana kutongoti ndisikanzwa, you know, being naughty. Were you a naughty boy?
In Ollah, growing up, I'm sure people that are watching this, that they know me.
Yeah.
I was a very, very stubborn person.
Wow.
Very stubborn person. But I think if I could just name a few things, I think growing up, I tomboita shiri, you know, makeji.
Okay. Exactly.
That was me growing up.
Wow.
And I was very passionate about animals growing up.
Yeah.
Particularly shiri.
Shiri zozo.
But it's a typical, you know, you can never run away. I think there's actually a box that you need to fit in.
Yes.
When you're going through environment, you go to school, after school, you play Chikweshe, after Chikweshe, you play Mahumbwe, after Mahumbwe, you know, you know, so it's just a phase that I went through,
I understand. Did you then remember a chance to kura kumusha or just kaka experience ke kumusha or not?
You know, Ollah, to be honest with you, I actually started going kumusha. I think I was around 2013. My family, because of like family dynamics.
Yes.
My mother was second wife to Morgan Tsvangirai.
Yes.
Right. So pretty much, you know, when you grow up a barika, you know, there's the first family.
Yes.
You know which one's
So I understand.
And for me, I was in the
second family.
Yeah. So kumusha, we actually started going there. I actually started going there.
Yeah.
Around 2013. Yeah, that's when I started going there. And, that's
2013.
2013.
You know ngoto chumkumana chombe.
2013
ndakatopedza form 4.
Ndatopedza form 4, ndatopedza A level. I was going to uni.
Yeah.
You know.
And how was it like, you know, like meeting your other family members warikumusha for the first time probably?
It was actually good, you know. It's something, you know, when you're growing up.
Yeah.
It's something that you wish for. You know, for my holidays, whenever you go to mamisha, you know, you don't go to mamisha because of one reason or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but going there, meeting my grandmother, meeting the other family from the side of my father, you know, it was good. You know, we get along very well. We actually have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, the funny thing, Baba Vakasharamoge.
Okay.
Which is my father.
Yes.
Tsvangirai.
Okay.
So she actually said, you look exactly like him.
Oh,
you know,
that's a good.
In terms of posture, in terms of how you deal with things. Yes. So maybe
I think we should just call you Richard Tsvangirai.
I'm impressed. Because my grandmother was a very stubborn person as well, from the things that I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I never had the privilege of meeting him though, but from the stories that I had from my grandmother and my father.
And I understand that you attended Prince Edward Boys Boys High.
Prince Edward.
And later became an economist and also real estate developer.
Yes.
So was there a point when, you know, you envisioned this path for yourself, and how did these experiences, you know, prepare you for the world of politics?
You see, when you grow up in a political family, or like family is always I mean, politics is always close to you.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you try to do. Whether you go to school,
Exactly.
you know, Baba was make this decision. Baba was
Exactly.
Baba is fighting for my sanctions.
Yeah.
Baba is what. So you can never run away from politics.
Yeah, true.
I try to go into private life, private sector actually.
Yeah.
And somehow, I just find myself running back to politics.
Yeah.
You know, when I came back from actually had the idea of actually running for public life actually happened in 2016.
2016?
Yeah. That's when I started working in Norton.
What were you doing then?
2016, I was just came from uni, right?
Yeah.
I did architecture in the UK. And after that, I had a break here around 2016.
Yeah.
And in 2017, I went back in uni in China. That's when I started doing economics, right?
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation last time when you said you're in China. I remember you told me that you're in China.
Yeah, I was in China. I was studying economics. International trade and economics. That's what I was doing in China. So after that, that's when before that year break, that 1 year break that I came back from the UK, I was actually working on the ground in Norton.
In Norton?
Yeah. I was working on the ground. I was meeting people. I was building relationships in Norton.
Okay.
Although I grew up in Norton.
Norton.
But then,
you still have friends there?
Yeah, but I was always that person that I end up boarding. I was in boarding school. I was in boarding school since grade 5. Ollah.
Oh,
yeah.
Grade 5?
Grade 5 at Shawasha Primary School.
Yo. My guy.
So the only time that people could see me was for my holidays. Only.
Yeah.
So I started like rebuilding those relationships when I stopped uni. So by then I was trying to figure out what am I going to do with my life.
Yeah.
You know, by then as well, I was also I actually started to hang out with my father a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From 2016.
From 2014,
yeah.
That's when I started hanging out with my father like that. We started going to rallies. We started doing things together. We went to golf. So from a father and son point of view, that's when I started knowing my father at that time, right? And from 2016, and then I remember we were going to Kwekwe this other time, and it Shifura along Norton.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that's Zotora Norton.
Who is that now? He's an MP.
Yeah. So that's Zotora Norton. You know, he does this. Exactly. Dismissive.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
I want to dismiss you know.
Yeah, I can say that as well.
Yeah. So that was me with my father. That was the kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so between 2000 and 2007, while the country was embroiled in political strife, you witnessed firsthand some of the consequences of opposition politics, on your family. How did those turbulent years influence your personal views and ambitions?
I want to be honest with you, Ollah. But around 20, because MD was formed in 1999.
Yeah,
I was 6 years old.
Yeah,
at that time.
Ah, you were young.
I was very young. So majority of the thing that was going on at that time, I didn't understand them.
Yeah,
that particular time. But as someone who loves to read, as someone who likes to study history, I then went back trying to figure out what really was going on at that time.
Yes.
And from just having a conversation with my mother, my mother is a very emotional person.
Yeah.
She would tell me, it wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
I mean, this was pretty much a person who was pronounced as a terrorist by the regime at that time.
Yeah.
I remember going to school as well. You see how our politics, it's even if you go to school, you just find yourself, having this conversation about politics. You would go to school. I mean, teachers will ask you, those type of questions.
Yeah.
And I was very young.
Did they affect you in any way, those type of questions?
Of course, Ollah. It's as a young person, it's a very it's an emotional part.
Yeah.
zvinhu zvokuti zvinogona kukanganisa as a young person, because zvinhu zvaunever, no one can ever prepare
That's very
yourself
true.
to be
True.
put in that environment. So environment you just learn how to adapt yourself.
Yeah.
And those I actually appreciate the way I grew up.
Yeah.
Because it built me who I am right now. Even if people vakandituka,
Yeah.
tell me something new.
Exactly.
Because I've been here before,
Yeah,
Yeah,
very true.
Vakandituka. Because it's something that happened long time ago. Ollah.
Yeah.
All my life, people are watching Mondituka. Baba wakasodai.
So waitukira nyaya dzababa vako. It's really painful.
It's painful. I remember, let me tell you a story. I remember I was at Shawasha Primary School. I was playing football. I was in the first team at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know what mistake that I made at the time,
Yeah.
And the teacher akangoya kwandiri akati ndosaka baba wako achidyiwa ma-election, ndosaka baba wako achidyiwa ma-election.
Bakuita sei kuti?
After say,
Exactly, yeah.
Just a mistake, but it's normal for a child to go through my mistakes akadari, because you be in your learning phase.
Yeah.
Right? So no one with some of the situations.
I But I want to understand, as a youngster, were there moments when the hardships you witnessed made you question the cost of political struggle, or maybe conversely inspired you to pursue leadership?
Well, like I violated before, when I was too young to understand some of the things that was going on at that time. But reflecting now, maybe I'm seeing a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading something. I actually read the issue. Yeah, I think it was in around 2023. Mtarawangwe at that time, Mangaga, I was being charged in the state. Yeah, treason.
Treason.
At that time, I didn't know what was going on. To me, that
it's very correct.
But I went through that. There's a book that I was reading about him.
Yeah.
The things that he went through. From a human point of view, it's too much. It's too much, and I think this is one of the things that I get to appreciate about my father.
Yeah.
The how brave he was, in terms of confronting the current regime, the dictatorship at that time of Robert Mugabe. Things that he went through, but at the same time, he had to be a father to us, his children. Like to keep that balance, or like it's
but kumuri
yangu, I have to be a father. I need to have this posture, a father figure to And imagine, right now, I actually sometimes in Rotombo Popoto, sometimes when my girlfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know we actually don't netsera ne
It's not baza.
I have a bigger issue. I have a bigger fish to fry. But
nega petty issue. Yeah.
So it's from there I just learned how my father, how patient he was.
Yeah.
With us. There was never one day, Ollah, I'm telling you, that
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
He had this composure, he would make everyone feel happy. Everything is under control,
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that I'm also trying to learn from him. How to maintain that composure, how to maintain that patience, regardless of the circumstances that you face.
Yeah.
He had this. I'm sure if you had the privilege of meeting him, you'd after talking to him, you just feel like everything is okay.
Correct,
after talking to him, you feel like I need to go no peace.
Exactly. Yeah.
he had that composure, he had that charisma.
True.
So it's something that I miss from him. Yeah.
That's very true. So let's move on to 2008. The 2008 elections marked a watershed moment.
Yes.
While your father was in the midst of this historical episode, what do you remember most distinctly about that period in your own life?
Well, 2008, Ollah, was a nationwide. It was a difficult year for Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
You'd go to hospitals, there was no medicine. You'd go to, walk up in my shops, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Even if you have money, you couldn't buy anything.
Yeah.
Right. You could, people were just dying. There was cholera everywhere. Those are some of the issues that I faced.
Yeah.
I was in the boarding school. munangari kubodies during that time, they will remember you.
Yeah.
That was the most difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Beans zainoshayikwa beans.
Beans zaishayikwa Ollah. Beans zaishayikwa. Beans zaishayikwa. And it was a difficult year for Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So what Mudara did, it was a trade-off. Whether I could, I would maintain my ego and say, Mugabe, you have lost the election, or I could have this opportunity, right, to bring change to the people of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
It was a trade-off, and I think he did well by choosing the people of Zimbabwe. And I'm sure, Ollah, you would understand after GNU.
True.
Shops transformed, the economy started to make sense.
Yes.
People, the civil servants, they started getting their money on the right date.
Yeah.
You would, they brought the new constitution, all those things, Ollah, it meant a lot.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to the people of Zimbabwe. And, Chingwa, you remember Chingwa, Mudara need $1 for $2. Ollah.
Vanhu vanga vakuita queue chingwa.
few lines, they all disappeared.
Yeah.
All those things. I feel like Mudara did well in terms of providing leadership.
Yeah.
When a country needs it the most. So I actually applaud him for doing all those things. But
you mentioning about that part, that moment or that time, GNU. It followed that, those violence and also compromise zaitika patime hiyo zvakawanda zaitika. How do you feel those events have shaped your own approach, to political negotiations and striving for change?
Well, during that time, I tried to find a perfect answer to your question, because this is a very emotional subject for me, because during that time, we also lost a lot of people.
Yeah, true.
The short hands. So it's a very emotional question for me. But, I learned a lot, Ollah. What is the resilience? How to be vigilant?
Yeah.
How to navigate through a dictatorship environment. All those things.
Yeah.
But some of the things, Ollah, around 2008, to be honest with you, like some of the things, I was too young to understand those things.
Yeah.
But reflecting it now I know the dynamics of politics. Now I know the dynamics of the economic dynamics, everything, how power works and all those things. I get to appreciate the work that Mudara did during that time, because hope was lost during that time.
True.
From the people. There was no hope at all, So Mudara helped to bring that hope back. Him and his team, the Tendai BT, the Nelson Chamisas, all those guys, they really work hard.
Yeah.
Remember, during that time, 2008 line, taking someone building a line.
Exactly true.
And when the Nelson Chamisa came in as the minister of,
it was now
ICT,
easy.
You were buying a line for $1.
True.
Bread was going for $1 for $2.
Yes.
My teachers were getting paid. Remember, if a majority of you were still in school, and my teacher angasingauye ku class,
strike.
And I remember that time my sister, her name is Richard Tsvangirai, who was named after my dead sister.
Okay.
She was writing O levels.
During that time?
Yeah, during that time. One of my father's smartest kid. She did well, but I complain.
Exactly.
And people and the teachers were not coming to school, but she worked hard. O level, all those things. So what Mudara did and the MDC did that time, we appreciate it. He brought in the constitution that we're still using.
Yeah, today.
All those things.
Yeah.
And people tend to forget all those things that happened.
Do you think they forget?
You see, the problem that we are having right now is the struggle is taking too long.
Yeah.
Understand?
So did your family's day-to-day routine change when your father entered government? How did you navigate the and also balancing between normalcy and also the responsibilities of being a high profile or in a high profile family?
Well, my mother, Ollah, and my father, our Namboti, they didn't raise us to feel entitled or to feel that we are high profile kids. We went to normal schools, we grew up in normal environment, all those things. So from there onwards, we just grew up as normal kids. You understand? Children that, play chikweshe in the streets of Katanga, people that, family comes first, all those things. So it really didn't affect me. It was just a transition of just, okay,
So were there any maybe particular moments or conversation that left, an impact on you as you observed the intricacies of political leadership up close?
From my father's, the conversation that I have with my father. Well, I think, my father never had the privilege of having that type of conversation to say that I want to enter into public life.
Yeah.
It's just happened.
Yeah.
Before there, I was just a curious kid who was trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So I never really had the privilege.
Yeah.
I wish I did have that conversation. It would make a lot of sense right now.
Yeah.
In the position that I'm currently in.
True.
But back then, the relationship that I have with my father, he was just a young, curious individual who was trying to learn what his father does. Why is this father making this decision? All those things.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I really never had that conversation with my father, so I cannot really give you a correct answer on that.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. Now, let's move into maybe the period of 2016 and 2018. A lot happened during that period.
Yeah.
When your father publicly shared his cancer diagnosis in 2016, how did that affect you and your family's day-to-day life? How did you cope, with the intersection of public scrutiny and also private grief?
When it's funny because we never had that conversation with my father to say. He never announced that to us until I have cancer.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
So, yeah. Because during that time, I remember I was joking. I told Joganite, Dada, you're losing weight.
Exactly.
What's going on?
Yeah.
He didn't say anything. He just laughed. And then he went to South Africa, right? I'm sure when he went to South Africa, I then on Facebook actually.
On Facebook?
On Facebook, that's when I saw a message that said Tsvangirai has cancer.
And you're like, what?
He never, I don't know. So when he came back now after his treatment, I'm like, we're happy to see him. I'm like, because let me tell you something. Mudaro wangu in Ollah, angane imwe composure. Even you would make the worst situation seems
simple,
like normal,
it's easy.
Simple, it's easy.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was just like, this is just another obstacle that Udara has to just, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
That was my mind. When he came back, I was like, Mdara, like, why you must not Dara so, I'll be all right. But him from his friends, they were saying that if in 2016, if Agatura another 2 weeks or so, he could have lost his life.
Oh.
Yeah, because Anzipa ended up kunona doctor at that time. Doctor got, come again, look at your skin. You look pale.
Yes.
You look ashy. What's going on?
Exactly.
Why it took so long to come see a doctor? And the doctor said if you could have taken 2 more weeks, you'd have died.
Yeah.
So when he came back, we had the conversation. He said that no, look, my children, I'm not feeling well, but I'll be all right.
Yeah,
right. I'll be all right. Yeah. So
during that time, there were a lot of should I say conspiracies? I tended to be some saying Daraga poison in his office. Some saying Daraga poison Mukapia tea. A lot of stories. Did he even share some of these stories with you guys?
So it's my generation. How how visible we are on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah,
I
true.
could read all these things on social media. Oh, Mdarok was a poison. Wow.
Yeah.
But at this juncture, Ollah, in my life, I'm a person who just want to believe things with facts.
Yeah.
If there's no evidence, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, because there's so much conspiracy theories.
That's very true.
Which go through around the social media. So I've learned, Ollah, Kuti, I have every decision that I have to make.
Yeah.
I have to have evidence.
Evidence, facts on the
You need
ground.
to show me evidence.
Yeah.
You know, but I understand why people were making those theories because the environment that he was working in.
Yeah.
You know the history of how SANU-PF operates, and for someone who worked closely with those people, sometimes you when you go through that period, or like you're trying to look for answers.
Yeah.
What is it that is going on with my father?
Yeah.
You know, Jean Butangira
Papi and stuff. Yeah.
So I would find myself probably buying into those theories, conspiracy theories, to say maybe my father was poisoned, but it was too late, to do anything about it. When he cancer yakubata, the doctor not talk about time frame. Here and there, you're expected to die this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that was like the situation. You were given time frame.
Yeah. That's what happens.
That I know it's better being given like a time frame to say.
But what Mdara did now, in terms of time frame, are now to
as
but
because by this time you'll be gone.
Yeah, by this time I'll give you Kenza Yakwe will give you about 2 years. And Maburra and over we had this conversation in Maburra.
Yeah.
Those are to Mdara. Dr. Katu died. This was after he died.
Yay.
So imagine what was going through his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kuti amana
Mawan
day rapera. That's one in 29 days per month. 20 days. This is why in Ollah, this is why I appreciate him that way.
Yeah.
How courageous he
was.
How brave he was.
True.
Because it takes a lot to Ollah kuti unzi wasara ne
5 days.
Even wasara ne Ollah pauri papa.
Amanaga. Kana chida timbopina munyanza unokumbira upenyi topopinda kuti mari mbondona ikako. Exactly. That's very true.
So that was the life of Mdara.
Yeah. So in the chaotic days that followed his passing, how did you personally process the loss amid national mourning and internal party conflicts that were happening that time?
Well, in terms of mourning, you just find peace within your family. We would comfort each other, we would do prayers, just telling each other it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But politically, the chaos that was happening in the MDC at that time, or if you understand the nature of power, passive power doesn't rest over. Even if funeral, if pachi.
True. Power
ripo. So my political players, they'll be trying to see how best they can they can seize that power.
That's very true.
They'll be doing everything, which I understand because it's just the nature of power.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of power, yes. Yeah.
And following your father's passing in 2018, the MDC underwent deep divisions. You've mentioned about power.
Yes.
You endorsed Nelson Chamisa for the party president at a critical moment.
Yes.
What drove you to take that stand, my brother? And how did it resonate with your own political ideals?
Okay, when Mdara died, Ollah, it was in 2018, right? On the 14th of February.
Yeah. Remember,
elections were in July. We didn't have time to actually have a candidate, Tomo Maketa, Tomo Dai.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of looking at the 3 candidates that were there.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, at that time, we had 3 vice presidents.
Very true.
Of course, Panimaliko issues akazoitika after to see who is the best person at that time.
Yeah.
But looking at the candidates that were there at that particular moment, you look at Mutsuri, you look at Kupe, you look at Nelson Chamisa.
Yeah.
You could tell who has the fan base, who has the
numbers,
who has the numbers, who has the energy to energize the base.
Yeah.
And amongst them, it was to my own understanding, to my own analysis of the political dynamics at that time, I felt, and till today, I still believe Nelson Chamisa, I made the right choice. I made a decision to say Chamisa is the best candidate. Also, it was a matter of survival as the MDC, Ollah. It was.
What do you mean?
Because the Pepe, Ollah, what was going on there, the MDC could have just, people, there was no hope. Now, what's next? Who could fit in issues? So who was the best person to bring back that hope? And the person that, if you look at the three candidates, even Ollah to this day, you still picture Misa. You still picture Misa. Because if you look at the candidates, you look at, and I want to make this clear, I have respect for all, for Thokozani Kupe and what she's doing currently regarding to the issues around cancer. You look at Mutsuri, he did well during his time as the mayor of Harare. So I have great respect for those three individuals. Look at Chamisa, what he managed to do, given the short period towards the election. The numbers that he managed to bring.
He's
meant for this job, He's the right person. So until to this day, I still believe he's the right person for that.
So looking back, do you feel that your endorsement was more of your own decision, or a continuation of your family's vision?
No, it wasn't my family decision. It was me being stubborn. I told you, I was just a stubborn person. That was just me being Richard. Being Richard, just doing what I think is the best for the movement and for the people at that current.
I remember that during that time, your other brother, what's his name? You were MP Weku Glenview? Vincent.
Yes.
He chose the other side. What happened there?
No, so what happened? Vinny, I think because what happened is that after the election.
Yes.
You remember during that time, my sister Vimbai.
Yes.
She ran for MP.
For MP Glenview, yeah, true.
May so rest in peace. And then he akazeta extend. She passed on. Then Vini akazorana for that city, and then akawina. At that time, that was
maybe just pull your mic close to you. Okay, yeah.
So after that, the Popakazo after. I think it was after 2018.
Yeah.
Popakazo itama decision. By then I was already in school doing my thing.
Yeah.
So he made this political choice that he thought was the best at that time, right? To say if I should go with Nelson Chamisa or I should follow Douglas Monzora.
Yeah.
And he chose Monzora over Chamisa. That was his decision.
So at family level, didn't that affect your relationship as a family? Say you're choosing this side, I'm choosing this side, you pick this card, I'm picking this card.
Lakana pane chinhu one chakagonekwa namutaro wangu. Ndechekuraise a democratic family.
Yeah.
Like people believe that you have a right to make your own decision. Regardless of that decision is good or bad.
Yeah.
Mdara, he was a Democrat. Kushika Mumba. Mugufa, he was a Democrat. To say that your decision, it's your own decision.
It's your own, yeah.
But my effects at that decision, it's your own.
Yeah.
That's basically democracy.
Yeah.
You get the opportunity to choose who you think is the best for you, who's aligned with your values and your way of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was us. So apana kana be blood yakazomboitika between we actually laugh at it this particular time. So
exactly.
So yeah.
I like that. So with infighting between figures like Chamisa, Kupe and Mutsuri, from your perspective, how did these internal conflicts shape or even weaken the broader political vision of the opposition?
So basically, panitwa fighting, Ollah, there's division, and division is not good for anything.
Yeah.
Actually, in particular in this circumstance or this context, particularly for the opposition, because you are trying to consolidate every vote that you get.
Yeah.
Because you be fighting ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is a well-organized, well-oiled machinery. Controls all the apparatus of state. So you have to be a well-organized opposition or movement.
Yeah.
You know, so it's split. Look at the votes that Kupe got.
Yeah.
You know, during that time, regardless of how President Chamisa got his votes.
Yeah.
But those votes were critical or for us to build around the president at that time.
True.
So division is not good for any opposition. It's not good at all. You know, and even if you see it, you know, people are confused. So it's very important for opposition to be united. You know, because ZANU-PF will always be united. We, regardless of what fight and I say, going through election, Banita Fungechin one.
Yeah.
They speak with one voice. So it made me imagine Mada ku voice and
exactly.
Apamosimu power. You know, it does not make sense at all. Right. Yeah.
So if your father were here today, how do you imagine he would interpret the current political and economic climate in Zimbabwe?
Well, let's look at the political situation at the moment. Yeah, I'm sure you understand you are a learned person.
Yeah.
You would tell some of our problems are emanating from a political situation, right? He was a Democrat. He would, from 1999, he believed that democracy is the answer. Is the answer to our problems.
Yeah.
So number one, we need democracy. You know, we need democracy. We need to strengthen our institutions, right? We just our democratic institution in particular, which is the parliament, which is the electoral commission, which is the judiciary. All those democratic institutions, they have to be strengthened. They don't have the separation of power, the rule of law, all those things that makes democracy works. You would speak towards that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the economy, Ollah, he was a person who fought for an economy that works for everyone. You know, currently, if you look at our current economy, Ollah, you'd tell that the economy is not working for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have the middle income class anymore. We just have the rich and poor.
Yeah.
The gap between the rich and poor, it keeps growing day by day.
Yeah.
You know, you would speak to the economic inequalities to say that we need an economy that works for all. We need to close down the economic inequality. You speak to that. You speak to the issues around the human rights issues. You know, the civil liberties. I'm sure you're very aware. Recently, your fellow journalist, Blessed Muslanga, was arrested. You know, you would speak to that. You know, those are some of the issues that Mudara would speak to. Yeah. You know, when you look at the economy, you look at the mixed economy. Mudara was a social democrat, and Mudara believed in the mixed economy.
You keep saying he was a Democrat, and I like that because, you know, like the way the name suggests, you know, the movement for democratic change.
Yes.
You know, democratic change.
Yes.
But now some feel like your dad made a mistake by appointed the 3 vice presidents, which then caused sort of a chaos within the party that led to the splits and whatnot. Do you believe that your dad, or do you agree with those who say your dad made a very big mistake and it was undemocratic?
Well, I mean, we can. The subject is debatable.
Yeah,
we cannot spend time arguing what Mudara did, what his mistake was.
Yeah,
I think that we, for progress' sake, we need to focus on what opposition should look like. And people currently, if you go around the street, if you ask them, you know, what's the best time for opposition, they'll tell you MDC was the best opposition at that time. Yeah. So there are things that we need to do to actually fix the current situation. You know, we need to have an opposition that is strong, that has an ideology, that has structures, that has a constitution. You can never have a party that don't have those 3. Yeah. You know. So I think that's what we need to focus on. Mudara did what he did. He played his part. Yeah. Now he's gone. But what we need to do right now, carry on. Yeah, true. On the things that he built on, right? Yeah. How do we carry on? You know, we need to speak about what was his legacy. We need to speak about unity. Yeah. Let's come together, guys. You know, let's come together. Look, ZANU-PF is just doing what he wants. So let's come together. You know, let's raise a voice. Let's point out he is wrong. What? You know, and those things. That's what we need to focus on. build the future, not to just remember of the mistakes that
he
made.
made.
Yeah.
Now that you're now representing Norton under Triple C.
Yes.
How do you weave together, your personal principles and also the legacy of your family while addressing today's political challenges?
So I mean, let's look at let's look at the legacy of Mudara. How do you remember Mudara? He was a social democrat. He was a person that believed in the mixed economy. He was a person that believed in. He fought for human rights. He fought for workers' rights. He fought for a new constitution, the rule of law, all those key principles. Right. Those are the key principles I still hold to this day. I'm a Democrat, Ollah, right? I believe in the mixed economy. I believe in progressive taxes, Ollah. I believe in the rule of law. Those are the things that I believe in. So those are the issues that I'm still carrying on forward. And by doing so, I don't want to really carry on those things by saying that I'm carrying on the legacy of Tsvangirai. If people remember me through those works, if they remember Mdara through my works that I'm doing, then it's fine. But those are the issues that I'm trying to to fight for. In the House of Assembly. Those are the issues. Even if I move a motion around the issue of water, even if I move a motion around the issue of the economic inequality gap. Those are the things that Mdara fought for. And I'm still moving those issues.
Okay. So do you believe Nelson Chamisa is successfully, advanced the mission you value in public service? If not, what alternative approaches would you have considered?
So if I'm to analyze Nelson Chamisa as a person, right? He's in terms of the principles that he's trying to bring about, right? He's a person that believes in a welfare state. He's a democrat leader. I think that is debatable as well. I think he's a person that is pushing for labor rights, that is pushing for an economy that works for everyone. Those are the principles that Mdara stood for. Those are the principles and Nelson Chamisa he has the platform and he's doing what Mdara stood for. But I think the issue that we have currently is that we don't have the vibrant movement that Mdara had at that particular time.
But my question again, your father was renowned for cross-party dialogue. In today's climate, do you see such diplomacy as feasible or even desirable given the heightened polarization?
So diplomacy, the way it works, Ollah, you need to, for example, if you look at the GNU time, Mdara had his own principles, MDC had its own principles, then ZANU-PF had its own principles. So they would negotiate along the things that they have in common. Right? If they want an economy that works for everyone, they would say, tick. If they have the things, that's what diplomacy is all about. It works in the best interest of both parties. So currently, what would I say? I mean, currently, it's still possible, right? To say how best can we work with in terms of, because we both want the best for this country. We both want the best for our citizens, right? For the people that we represent. So how do we best work together to make sure that we are able to deal with current problems that are facing the nation, whilst we are helping or improving the standard of living of our people. So I feel like even if you look at Russia and Ukraine, I mean, diplomacy and conversation is always the best solution. So I think we are able to do that, find what we can work together, and do that.
But now in Parliament, you've got, I remember I had a conversation with Advocate Agents Gumbo. He was telling me that, there is this faction for Chabangu, there is this faction, the original caucus with Timber, then these factions. Why is it that difficult for you guys to just come together and just have one thing in common?
Well, it's about principles. It's about principles at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you have shared what define a caucus? Because we have shared principles, right? If we don't have shared principles, we cease to be a caucus.
Yeah.
So we have other people that believe in whatever they are believing.
Yeah.
They believe in whatever they believe
Yeah.
in. So it makes it difficult for them to actually come together, for us to come together, given that we have different principles. We see, we have different vision. We believe in different things. So you cannot have a caucus.
So what type of leadership, Richard, do you believe Zimbabwe urgently needs right now? And how do you see your role within the parliament contributing to this vision?
So currently, the leader that Zimbabwe needs is a leader that is able to build institutions, independent institutions, strong institutions. Because at the end of the day, Ollah, what defines a country is, if it's rich or poor, it's institution, right? If you look at Zimbabwe and Zambia, we have the same climate. We went through the same drought. But Zambia is probably doing well. But what is the difference between Zambia is the institutions. So we need someone who's able to build strong institutions.
Yeah.
That's the leader that we need, right? I think even if Ollah, we have a strong institution where you are able to succeed based on your competence. Not because you belong to you have a certain surname or you belong to a certain party, but you're able to compete.
Yeah.
There's equal opportunities. You're able to compete and get the job, and you're able to, to save your country. That's what strong institutions bring about. They bring competence. That's what we need, as a country.
Okay. So beyond the usual election cycle, how do you ensure that you remain in touch with the everyday struggles and aspirations of your constitution? Your constituents, sorry.
So what I basically do, I connect with my constituents through the normal channels, which is the social media platforms. I hold town hall meetings where I get to interact with them. Here and there, I do my projects. Currently I'm having a water project.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware, Norton is an issue of water. It doesn't have its water treatment plant.
Yeah.
So we are working to make sure that my short-term solution that we can bring about, and we and the community have agreed that the solar-powered bores are short-term solutions. But in the long term, Ollah, if you look at the issue of water in Norton, I've also moved a motion. If you read the answer, I've also moved a motion around that issue in Parliament, which seeks to establish yet not a water national infrastructure fund, whereby my small towns like Norton and Achinoe, they can able to borrow from that fund.
Okay.
Because currently the situation that we have in Norton is that we don't have the funds to build our own treatment plant. If you look at the geography of Norton, you find out it's surrounded by my water reserve, electric area, but the problem that we have now is that we don't have our own water treatment plant. The water treatment plant that is there is for Sitofarari. So Norton is buying water from Sitofarari.
Yeah.
But we have that what I have suggested in that motion, or what I'm proposing in that motion, is that we need to have our water treatment plant.
Yeah.
And the treatment plant, we cannot finance it because the money that is being collected by by Norton Town Council is not enough for them to kickstart that project that is bigger.
Yeah.
And so they need the funds. And the funds is that we need to have a national water infrastructure fund, so that they can borrow from that fund.
Apart from this water issue, what else have you done, in your constituency?
Oh, a lot.
Maybe major project or something?
Well, a lot. My constituency, like I have highlighted before, it's a low-income area. If you go into schools, you find out that children are still 40 plus years after independence, people are still learning wakagara pass. So we have actually we have mobilized. Actually, today in the morning, I actually delivered furniture, school furniture to a school called the Motipitipi, which is in Ward 14, right? I delivered furniture. I also delivered furniture in Clifford sometime last week, and I have 3 schools that I have delivered school furniture. So it gives hope, Ollah, and it improved the learning environment for our children. If you look
where are you getting this money from? Are you getting from the Parliament fund, or it's your own pocket, or maybe you've got some donors?
So this money, I'm getting it from a Constituent Development Fund, right? I'm sure you're aware that MPs get that fund,
exactly,
get that money, and I have also mobilized local companies, through their corporate social responsibility to say that you are making profit out of these people. You also need to give back to
the community.
So I've also mobilized the companies. You look at the Sunny Fair as well. They recently
along Norton.
The Chinese company. They also have helped us to address the issue around water. So there are so many opportunities that we can tap in.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about the parliamentary, boycotts and also staying the course. Richard, we saw key opposition figures like Fadzai Mahere, Gift Osado Siziba, resigning from parliament following the C recall chaos during that time. You on the other hand, chose to stay. Why did you make that decision? And what was going through your mind as others, walked away from that house?
Why I made that decision to stay in parliament? Number one, Ollah, I consulted the people of Norton, right? I had a meeting with them. And from that meeting, they said that I need to stay in parliament and to wait for, I still remember, I know you remember that President Nelson Chamisa issued a statement saying that he's leaving at CCC.
Yeah.
Right. In that statement, he said that, but I'll be back. So we said for us we need to make a strategic decision to say that how do we make sure that we maintain this space?
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, and trying to figure out what's the best for the people. So the people made that decision to say that you need to stay there whilst President Chamisa is making his own decisions. Then from that, we'll decide. We'll have another meeting as well to say that how best can we navigate through whatever that was going on. So that was the people saying. But another thing, Ollah, if you understand politics, you understand that political space is very important, right? We need to occupy every political space that is there. Imagine that the work that I'm currently doing now, the bowels, the school furniture, the motion that I'm moving in parliament. Imagine that if we have left that space, as ZANU-PF occupy that space, he's doing all those things.
Yeah.
How do you expect to remove that person?
Yeah.
It's
difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
it's
true.
difficult. It's going to cost even more money to remove that person.
Yeah.
And if you look at the opposition situation, you'll understand resources are a big challenge.
True.
So for me, it didn't make sense. Although it was an unpopular decision.
Yeah.
But I think it was the best decision.
So do you ever feel isolated or conflicted staying in the chamber, where many of your former allies no longer sit besides you?
Do I feel isolated? Do I feel isolated? I don't think I feel isolated because the people that back me are the people of Norton, right? Those are the people that send me to parliament.
Yeah.
So, do I ever feel lonely? Because no, I don't think I have. At all, not at all. As long as I'm doing.
Some were saying maybe your choice was to defend your father's legacy, or maybe. Side drag or no,
how do I defend my father's legacy?
To say maybe because political circles.
The Tsvangirai name, it stays in the people's heart because of the work that Mdara did.
Yeah.
Regardless of what I do, even if right now, people are still going to remember Mdara as someone that fought for the people.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with me as an individual.
Yeah.
So.
But some were calling you a sellout for staying in parliament.
But how do we define a sellout, Ollah? According to you, how do you define a sellout?
No, it's really difficult. In let's do this. Then you said, no, let's turn right when others are turning left. Saying, okay, if you're going to the right, maybe you are now dining and wining with the ruling party.
So according to my understanding of a sellout is we need to look at the principles, right? Not needs or let's say a party. It's the ideology. It's not about personality, it's the ideology. Those not it say, not it bring about together. I'm a social democrat. I believe in democracy. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the mixed economy. I believe in fighting for labor rights. I believe in those things.
Yeah.
I believe in the welfare state. Those are the things that I believe in. If I stopped or not supported those things that I believe in, if I, and those are the issues that brought us together as Triple C.
Yeah.
Have I stopped from supporting those things or fighting for those principles that I believe in? No, I have not. Because the politics are fun. It has my personalities. We need to have politics based on ideas. What ideas do I stand for as an individual? What does my ideas I stand for Triple C? Triple C, or I have an opportunity to go to MDC. But what are those ideas that I followed in Triple C? Those are the ideas that I have highlighted. A social democratic party that believe in a welfare state, that believe in universal healthcare, that believes in free education. Those are the issues that I went or I didn't follow Triple C.
Yeah.
Have I stopped believing in those principles? I have not. So how do you clarify me as a sellout? How do you clarify me as a sellout? Because taka focus on my personalities in Ollah to go taka nyingirana baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But my principles, or like I thought in my friends, are still there. So how have I sold you out?
Yeah.
I went there in parliament, I move a motion that speaks to the issues around exploitative of bank charges in my banks. I go in parliament, I speak to the issues of around water. I go in parliament, I speak to the issues around my school informs. I go affect Havana. Attend my schools. I go in parliament, I speak to a lot of issues. I fight for a budget that addresses my economic inequalities.
Yeah.
So what more do you want from me, Ollah? What more do you want from me clearly? Because the things that you say me in parliament, I'm doing it.
Now, you've mentioned about motions. Let's talk about motions, youth politics and reforms. Now, recently you introduced a motion to tackle the problematic charges by, banks and mobile operators simply for checking balances. So, what sparked this initiative, Richard, and what does it say about your priorities for economic justice?
Ollah, I've told you tonight my consultation with the people.
Yeah.
And I'm a leader that listens to the people that elected me.
Yeah.
And the people that elected me, they were complaining about the bank charges. In particular, the issue around checking your balance. How do you get charged to check a balance yako? Mari yako. Unto the marine. That's an exploitative policy. Kupira vanhu zviri clear. Wanza Ollah. Kupira vanhu because you wapa munhu mari. Wada kuvunza kuti mari yangu imarini wakunzi tipe 50 cents.
Yeah.
It's exploitative. We need to get rid of that. And I also looked around the SADC countries.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is one of the few countries that's still doing that, So we need to be progressive and get rid of that. What does people will say 15 cents is shoma.
Yeah.
But look at the pensioner or look at the civil servant. Look at for you don't try to build your business. Your business,
yeah.
Then every time that you're checking your balance,
yeah.
It's ridiculous. We need to get rid of that all.
So would you say that your approach to politics is deeply rooted in understanding the challenges faced by everyday Zimbabweans? What drives you to maybe remain connected to these struggles?
Yeah, of course. I regard myself as a leader that listens to the people. And you cannot be occupying this position without listening to what people are saying. So whatever decision that I'm making, it's actually emanating from the people.
Yeah.
Right. So how do I stay connected? I listen. I go through my social media. I read the comments.
Yeah.
My comments
Exactly. Comment section.
Comment section interview akaita na
Holy 10.
Nakantori mu comment section story toverenga kuti vanhu vari kuti chii.
Yes.
I read all those comments.
Yeah.
Because without information, Ollah, you become blindless.
Yeah, true.
You don't know what to represent. You don't know what people want.
Yeah.
So I have to listen. Every information that I get from the people, whether ndikuita town hall meetings, whether ndikuenda muma streets, even kamwana akadai unogona kutondisvikira munoto meme ndakatobvisa boots ndichotamba chikweshe now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's how I connect with my people.
Well done.
That's how I connect with my people.
So Zimbabwe's parliament is overwhelmingly or dominated by ZANU-PF. Often leaving opposition voices sideline. How do you cope with this imbalance, and what practical strategies do you use to advance reforms amid a three-quarter ruling majority?
So Ollah, parliament, of course, my numbers, they are not on our side. But what's very important is for you to be able to lobby, to lobby from both sides. And if you bring a motion that speaks to the issues of people, you should be able to persuade through logical persuasion.
Yeah.
To say that, guys, look at the situation. But of course, here and there, politics play a critical role in terms of shaping political reforms. But what's the parliament, the way I see it, it's you cannot just go into parliament, Ollah. You got to articulate your eye, Ollah. Ungopinda mu parliament meme utoti toda kuti kunotoni kuende mvura, all of a sudden kwakwenda mvura. It's a debate arena where you have to fight for your ideas. And that's basically what we are doing. We are fighting for what we think is the best for the citizens through our engagement. That's basically what we are doing. So sometimes, in a debate, you lose, you win some, you lose. That's basically the war. But we are there to fight for the voices of the people, the powerless, those that don't have power, those that don't have money. Those are the people that we are targeting, that we speak.
But do you feel like, or do you think so far, Murim Parliament as opposition, muno enyo ma ideas ama winner so far ma fighter for ama winner?
Yeah.
Despite my numbers in Mashomo.
To turn my ideas. Recently, I'm sure you're aware, Breta issued death turnout. It was a motion that was moved by Honorable Mshoriwa. I mean, if you read the answer, you will see things that the opposition voices are doing. If you look at the 2015, okay, I'll give you a practical example. Do you know kuti vamtulipa kwaya nema taxis out? There was this idea kuti those that are working in the informal sector must be taxed. Yeah. And vamtulipa kwaya ne idea kuti we need to tax about $300 to mababas. $300 all.
Hey, kuna baba.
Kuna baba.
Yeah.
But do you know the opposition yakafight osvika yapa marine? $5.
Kuna baba.
Kuna baba. From $300
to $5.
To $5. Imagine that I can occupy that space. Die now.
Baba
$300
for tax.
For tax.
Yeah.
$300. Anyone
Mawan.
So it's critical for us to have that alternative voice in parliament. Because
but anyway, with the ruling party in a position to alter, key policies, I want to understand, such as, extending the presidential term limits and also restructuring institutions. How do you find meaningful opportunities to influence policy debates and also legislative outcomes?
Speaking to the issue of 2030, currently we don't have that motion tabled in the House. It just remains a political talk in the social space, social media space.
Yeah.
But trust me, Ollah, it's not just an issue that it is raised on member of parliament. It's something that should unite every progressive voices. Those guys that are in the opposition, they must come together. Because if that motion comes in parliament with the majority of MPs of ZANU-PF, it will just sail through.
One on one.
But we need to occupy every democratic space. All those guys that they need to come together. Because the 2030, it does not benefit anyone, Ollah.
Yeah.
It does not benefit anyone. So we need all those guys to come together. It's not just an issue of Richard Tsvangirai or what.
But even because my Messi, my MPs are actually opposition. Compared to the number irimo ZANU-PF, the ruling party, do you think you will be able to stop this?
No, it's not just an issue of parliament. It's not just an issue of parliament. We have the streets. Those are spaces. Those are democratic spaces that people need to occupy.
Demonstrating.
Yeah.
But in Zimbabwe, do you think demonstrations really work? In Zimbabwe.
If we are about change, if we are serious about changing, I don't see any other way.
But, of late, we've seen people like, no,
No, the issue is about the bringing pressure to the executive or to the current regime. That's what's important. Pressure. If you occupy every journalism, we are speaking with one voice. Just go that 2030. We go in the street, we speak with one voice. We go into parliament, we speak with one voice. We go into every other democratic space that is there for us to occupy. We need to occupy those spaces.
Yeah.
If you leave it to parliament, 2/3 majority as RPF, go China, the opposition. Then what's next?
But with the 2028 on the horizon, Richard, and the political landscape evolving rapidly, what strategic shifts do you believe are necessary for the opposition to reclaim electoral competitiveness?
Well, the opposition has to be organized. I don't see any other way of winning 2028 election other than organizing ourselves as the opposition.
Yeah, we
need to have a clear message that resonates to the electorate. We need to have a vehicle or a political party that is rooted, that is grounded in ideology, that is grounded in structures, that has systems.
Yeah,
it has I've already spoke about ideology. It has the structures. All those things are critical for us to have an organized opposition, right? I've pointed out the issue of a political space.
Yeah,
we need to occupy those spaces. We need to be on the ground. We need to have. Basically, what I'm trying to say, Ollah, we need to have a strong opposition that has. How do you define a strong opposition? It has an ideology. It has structures.
Yeah,
it has systems. That's how you define an opposition. We need that.
Yeah,
we definitely need that for us to be able to withstand the pressure of ZANU-PF.
So do you see yourself taking a broader leadership role within the opposition beyond your current parliamentary duties? And probably what would that look like for you?
Currently, I'm focused on the people of Norton. I'm not only very so demanding, and
right?
I don't think it needs my brain right now I'm just focused on make sure that I deliver.
Yeah,
I meet the expectations of the people of Norton. Then if there's a people require my skills and my leadership, and then I'll be happy to take that leadership position. Yeah.
Now, finally, stepping out from behind the extensive family legacy, what kind of mark do you hope to leave as Richard, both as public servant and also as an individual forging his own identity in Zimbabwe's future?
Well, I truly want to be remembered as someone that fought for justice, that fought for freedom, someone that fought for economy that works for everyone, and those are the things that I think I want to be remembered for, and that voice for the voiceless, that voice for the powerless. That's what I want to be remembered for. It's not about titles, it's not about anything else, but to fight what is just for the people. That's what I want to be remembered for.
Great. So I've been getting these questions. Some are asking that, are you still in talking terms with former president of the political party, Chamisa?
Apart from politics, President Chamisa, I regard him as my brother. Mkumo wangu Edwin, who was the firstborn of my father.
Yeah.
They are the same age.
Oh, they're the same age?
Yeah, same age. So I regard him as my brother. Mkoma Jude, even if the way that I talk to him, he talk with Mkumo wangu.
Yeah.
Somebody, we don't have that title thing that president, what. Of course, I have to say president in the public arena. But he Mkumo wangu. I regard him as Mukoma.
Yeah.
If ndakatomuona ndakati mfana enda untora mvura ndotomanya nomtora mvura tamanda ya nemvura yenyu. So I look at him as mukoma wangu, I look because he's someone that was brought through the I would say the trajectory of mudaro wangu.
Toti vadzoka vachamisa with a new political party. Would you join that party? Is them?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if you look at if you are serious, because at the end of the day, it's about how best can we address the challenges that we're facing as a country. Who is the best foot forward in terms of addressing those challenges, in terms of mobilizing the people. I don't think there's other candidate in the opposition arena other than Nelson Chamisa who can able to energize the base.
Yeah.
So I think for now, I think that, but of course, I still believe that for us to be able to achieve that, we need unity of purpose.
Yeah.
Not unity Ola.
Exactly.
Unity of purpose. Unity of purpose. What is it that we want to achieve as an opposition? I said, do we want to remove ZANU-PF? Do you want to bring about reforms that are necessary to usher in the democratic alternative? And those are the things that we need to have serious conversations around. So it's not just a blind loyalty, Ollah.
Yeah.
It's a loyalty that is based on values, that is based on issues that I think are the best for the people. So of course, if it comes back, we have to. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine. Perfect. 2028. Toti my elections aitwa mdara. Vamuliswa votera kudzoka ku constituency yavo. Munofunga munobudirira.
So here's the thing. Well, me, I'm a Democrat. I respect the voices of the people. So if the people think that Muliswa is the best foot forward in terms of carrying Norton dreams and the vision of Norton, then I'll be happy to say that Muliswa should carry on.
Yeah.
But I'll be happy to actually I would admire him to come back and maybe we can run it back for the last time.
Yeah.
For
the last time.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
But knowing my character, even if to take the courage to go against someone who's a political giant like Muliswa, it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, true.
Bravery. And I did that. And
but what did you take advantage of maybe the name Triple C or Chamisa?
Ollah, winning an election, it does not matter which what's your strength and whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's winning. What's very important? It's you
winning.
Have to win.
Yeah.
And plus what people see, all I want to tell you right now is the result.
Yeah.
They don't see the hard work that you put in. I have told you I started working in Norton in 2016.
Yes.
It was a build up from 2016 to 2023. And then go MP.
Yeah.
It was a build up. Long term of building relationship with the people of Norton. Plus I grew up in Norton. I think I'm lose the election to someone here and there.
Exactly.
When I speak the issue of water right now, ndabva kumuka ndichienda kunogeja mvura right now in the morning.
Uchiuya kuno.
So I'm not speaking from an ignorant point of view. I'm speaking from experience. Unless ndichibva kubhora deusa.
Are you still staying in Norton? Like?
Yeah, I'm in Norton, Ollah.
Serious?
I'm in Norton. Vanhu vanouya padeni pangu vachinoka every day. Koko MP.
Exactly.
I'm there. So vanhu Norton, they actually understand me. Chero vakatoniona nongoti amufano wedu takura naye.
Exactly. You know? I saw you recently muri kubhora muchitamba bhora neteam. I mean, was it a tournament or something?
Ollah inini handiunyepere. Inini ndiri pa-attacking mid.
Yeah.
Ndorwa pa-attacking mid pepe.
Okay.
Zvoti izvozvi kunzi kana Mozi now.
Mukutoda kuti ikutori.
Scotland yakati ikuda pasota pa-attacking mid. Vanotondaidza kuti hapana chimboya kubutika apa.
Timbochimanya. Serious. Saka wakazosiya bhora then.
Ollah munoziva maparents edu isusu zvebhora izvo vanonga asingatotombozvidza
kuti haiwa
but ndokuudza chinhu wani hapana munhu anokurira mugeto asingagoni
kutamba bhora chikweshe chotorohwa baba
hapana munhu
zvakasimba
hapana munhu but even if growing up people vatondiona semunhu webhora zvepolitics takazozvigamira
padenga
but bhora ndo ranga rita sei ranga ririmo ona mani kana zikumoroko kwauri kuda kuenda kumawarriors vakandidaidza
ndokonoti chimhanya bobo
apakama kana pamusona ndokona kupamanya
no my brother I think nguva yedu ka ndoito zoita shajazi chana nguva yakawanda nemi tichitaura and also we want to thank you so much for nekuuya kwamaita and also ticharamba tichiita so my projects and the progress that you're making in your constituents as well and also to thank your people vari kukuona right now from your constituents. Maybe you should just give us your parting remarks.
Well, to the people of Norton, I think we need to work together. And when you get into parliament, I'm sure you have so many things that you think you could achieve in a short period of time, but those things actually takes time. And I want to thank the people of Norton for their patience with me and their, opportunity to be able to serve them. And I want to thank the people of Zimbabwe as well for their confidence in my leadership.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
Thank you so much. That was Richard Tsvangirai, the Member of Parliament for Norton Constituency. Watangatina opano. Until next time, my name is DJ Ollah 7. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to fuel your home or business. With Taste Solar, you can reduce your energy bills and carbon footprint. Taste Solar are experts in designing, installing and commissioning smart solar systems. Available in 5 and 10 kilowatt systems. With Smart Solar, clients can monitor their systems from anywhere in the world and maintenance can be done remotely. Switch to clean energy and join the sustainable future. Contact our team today. Schedule a consultation on the numbers appearing on screen now. Taste Solar. With solar energy, the future is bright.